Viewers, the benevolence complex is known to afflict totalitarian demagogues. And so it was for Indira Gandhi. After having snatched away the civil liberties of a little over 500 million Indians, Mrs. G, as she was known, embarked upon the worthy pursuit of cleansing them of their poverty. Convinced of the fairness of the trade, liberty for poverty, Indira Gandhi amended the constitution. The 76th amendment was undertaken to inject the word socialist into the document. Mrs. G was convinced that the insertion would breathe a touch of idealism into the document that lay moribund under emergency. But beyond that, she also hoped that it would give her legal sanction to follow in the footsteps of comrades Lenin and Mao, who had afflicted the greatest wealth transfers known to man in their countries. All of this, of course, was under the guise of socialism or communism, call it what you want to. It didn't matter to Indira Gandhi that Dr. Ambedkar, the framer of the constitution and the beacon of social justice, had expressly warned against injecting adjectives like socialist into the preamble, which is, of course, the philosophical core of the Constitution. This is what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar stated in the Constituent Assembly debates when fellow member K.T. Shah had proposed to insert the word socialist into the Constitution. Ambedkar said, and I quote, "What should be the policy of the state, how the society should be organized in its social and economic side are matters which must be decided by the people themselves according to time and circumstances. It cannot be laid down in the Constitution itself because that is destroying democracy altogether." But since the Congress party had come up with the potentially politically lucrative slogan "Garibi Hatao" to whip up support for Mrs. G and redeem her in the eyes of the public, in the hope that she would win the masses over forever, Dr. Ambedkar's warnings were cast aside. Indira Gandhi then went about nationalizing MNCs, banks, and imposing taxes upon the rich. The inheritance tax too was imposed with unrelenting zeal. It was already an inheritance, legislative one, for Indira Gandhi, and she was never inclined to roll it back. The idea was to take from the rich and give to the poor. But just like wealth redistribution policy had beggared communist Russia and China, they bled India dry. It took her political successors, her son Rajiv Gandhi and Andhra Satrap, who went on to become Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao, to liberate India from the smothering embrace of Indira Gandhi's stifling fiscal fiats. So it comes as a huge shock when the Congress party's proclaimed mentor, Sam Pitroda, has sought to re-engage with the failed ideas of that enervating Indira era. Pitroda thinks that India should relook at inheritance tax to reduce income inequality. Listen in, viewers.
In America, there is an inheritance tax. So if, let's say, one has $100 million worth of wealth, and when he dies, he can only transfer probably 45% to his children. 55% is grabbed by government. Now that's an interesting law. It says, you in your generation made wealth. You are leaving now. You must leave your wealth for public. Not all of it, half of it. Which to me sounds fair. In India, you don't have that. If somebody is worth 10 billion and he dies, his children get 10 billion.
It seems fair. India doesn't have that. It had it, Mr. Petroda, and it had enough of it, and it said no to it. In fact, the Congress itself said no to it. Petroda's support for the idea has greatly animated Narendra Modi. It gave NDA's lead campaigner fresh oxygen to accuse the Congress of eyeing public wealth with the intent of looting it. Listen in.
अब कांग्रेस का कहना है कि वो इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स लगाएगी, माता पिता से मिलने वाली विरासत पर भी टैक्स लगाएगी। आप जो अपनी मेहनत से संपत्ति जुटाते हैं वो आपके बच्चों को नहीं मिलेगी, बल्कि कांग्रेस सरकार का पंजा उसे भी आपसे छीन लेगा। यानी कांग्रेस का मंत्र है, कांग्रेस की लूट जिंदगी के साथ भी और जिंदगी के बाद भी।
Steadfastly accused the Prime Minister of spreading fake news. It has asked him to prove substantially where in its manifesto has the Congress promised to redistribute wealth. In fact, the party has distanced itself from Sam Petroda and has also ruled out undertaking any such scheme if it is elected to office. Listen in.
He expresses his views on issues that he considers important very freely, and that's part of democracy. So he makes these comments in the US, he's made these comments in the US, while he's free to say whatever he has to say on issues on which he feels strongly. It's not always that he reflects the views of the Indian National Congress, and on this particular issue also, he's not reflecting the official position of the Indian National Congress. But I think what is happening is his comments are torn out of context and they are being sensationalized in order to divert attention from the Prime Minister's deliberate, mischievous and malicious, poison-ridden campaign. A desperate Prime Minister, a nervous Prime Minister is trying to divert attention away from the real issues.
Can we take Jairam Ramesh at face value? Has Pitroda let the wealth redistribution cat out of the bag? Does the manifesto genuinely rule out any possibility of Congress embarking upon a wealth redistribution scheme? And what to make of Congress Party Scion Rahul Gandhi's public pledges to this end? Here are some hard facts. Viewers, I always bring you these hard facts so that you can get closer to the truth and sift fact from fiction. And these hard facts the Congress might find tough to brush away. So let's take them up. In the equity chapter, let's look at clause 3, which states that Congress will ensure minorities receive fair share, unquote. Ensure is the word. Can Congress ensure fair share without wealth redistribution? It's one thing to say that we could, we will, but to ensure is a commitment to you, viewers. And if the Congress has said that it will ensure that minorities receive fair share, it stands to reason that it will have to, at some level or the other, embark upon some redistributive exercise. Then let's look at Rahul Gandhi's speech from April 7. He says, and I quote him, "We will do an X-ray that will provide an insight to minorities on just how much of a stake they are entitled to have in the nation's resource pie. We will also conduct a financial and institutional survey in a historic step to ascertain the distribution of wealth held by different communities." Here's a hard question on the back of that, viewers. Will the Mangal Sutras and holdings of religious institutions be a part of this wealth survey? Should Rahul Gandhi not come out and expressly clarify this instead of suggesting that the Prime Minister is whipping up communal passions? What stops the Congress from coming out and saying, no way will a wealth survey look at assets? It's a very simple question, viewers. Of course, there's Sam Petroda of today. In America, there is an inheritance tax. If one has 100 million of wealth and he dies, he can only transfer probably 45% to his children, 55% is grabbed by the government. That's an interesting law. It says you in your generation made wealth and are leaving. Now you must leave your wealth for the public, not all of it, half of it, which to me sounds fair. Here's a hard question. What is the guarantee that the Congress will not walk the path lit up by its mentor, Sam Pitroda, in the future? It says right now, no, we are not going to. But what's the guarantee? Remember, viewers, Indira Gandhi inserted the word, as I began with this, socialist into the constitution, despite the liberalization undertaken by Congress prime ministers that succeeded her. They flinch at any mention of anyone removing that word from the preamble. And as long as it is there, just as it allowed Indira Gandhi the cover to go ahead with some of those borrowed from Mao and Lenin policies of wealth redistribution, the Congress also gets that fig leaf. Don't forget, viewers. Then, of course, there is ex-Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, who in 2012, I think it was February, said, we have paid little attention to the accumulation of wealth in few hands. I'm still hesitant to talk about intergeneration equity and therefore inheritance tax. Can the Congress distance itself from Chidambaram's remark, linking inheritance tax to overcoming iniquity? These are some fundamental questions, viewers. And I want to open this up. I want to first begin with Sanjay Jha. Mr. Jha, thank you. I want to ask you straight off. The BJP today says it is vindicated that Sam Petroda has let the cat out of its bag. And the Mangal Sutra is definitely now within Congress's reach. How can you, after all the hard facts that I have mentioned, distance the Congress blithely from any prospective attempt at the redistribution of wealth, sir?
Okay. Rahul, this is a serious debate. I'm glad you have asked me to answer your question. I will appreciate some uninterrupted time. I won't take too long. Number one, clearly the BJP is so desperate to try and hide Prime Minister Narendra Modi from the mammoth embarrassment he's created for himself by making a hate speech where, as a pathological liar that he has been since 2002, he lied on the Congress manifesto. He called it a Muslim League document. He called it divisive. He's lied to the people of India on saying Mangal Sutras will be snatched away. And Amit Shah has joined the party. Clearly, there is something fundamentally worrying the BJP. You know, I was thinking about it today, and you have put out some facts. I agree they are facts, whatever you have mentioned. But I feel that the Bharatiya Janata Party is seeing a serious imminent rout. Because how could this party not do elementary homework and Narendra Modi and Amit Shah considered to be the Chanakyas of Indian politics? They forgot that in their own cabinet, Jayant Sinha, Minister of State for Finance, in 2014, publicly stated that inheritance tax is something that the government must contemplate to reduce income inequality. Jayant Sinha, unlike Sam Petroda, is not an overseas BJP head, Minister of State for Finance. And can I be honest with you? Frankly, in my opinion, in all the years that I have been in politics, one of the few people I really wanted to listen to and respected was actually Jayant Sinha. And even when I was the Congress official spokesperson at that point of time, I wouldn't be petty as to ridicule him for talking about inheritance tax, but that is the kind of conversation that policymakers, economists and thinkers and bureaucrats need to do.
Okay.
Now, here is the catch. Mr. Modi is clearly at this point of time, I think, very disturbed. Because if his party cannot save him further embarrassment, because end of day, Arun Jaitley praised inheritance tax. He's finance minister. They talked about nearly introducing it in the 2019 budget. Now, you know what makes me very intrigued is that the BJP does not even know that Rajiv Gandhi, as the Prime Minister of India, under his government, the estate duty or the inheritance tax was removed in 1985. The Congress has walked the talk. So I asked myself a question, Rahul, why is the BJP behaving like this?
Okay.
Modi is now in front of the Election Commission. I think he may be in front of the Supreme Court too very soon on hate speech.
Okay.
But why is the BJP behaving in this very peculiar, irrational.
Okay, let me open this.
One last line, and I got the answer. The answer lies in a very well constructed, brilliant manifesto of the Congress party.
Okay.
And I know that the Congress is putting
Couple of
that
points.
manifesto all over the country.
I want to bring in Sanju Verma right after. A couple of quick points. Dr. Ranganathan, bear with me. Just very quickly. Jayant Sinha was, of course, very soon after that, not the MOS for finance. So that tells you something. Secondly, one of the reports
I don't care for that.
No, 1 second. One of the reports that...
Arun Jaitley,
One second.
okay.
Arun Jaitley also got up when Rajiv Gandhi was around as Prime Minister and opposed wealth tax. Let me also tell you, Sanjay Jha, that the report that you're quoting was sourced from sources. Just like your faith in the mainstream media suddenly balloons today, swells into confidence. I'm surprised. But anyhow, that's okay. That's all very well. No one has answered the basic question that I asked. Why should I discount wealth redistribution on the Congress mind when its own manifesto says will ensure minorities receive fair share? Ensure is the word. It's their manifesto.
How is that wealth redistribution?
1 second.
How is that?
Congress will
use the term wealth redistribution.
Okay. I have to bring in the BJP. Now, I'm not getting into a slanging match. I'm only pointing out that there has been no response. There's been a lot of rhetorical counterfactuals. That's fine. You're entitled to that. But clause 3 says Congress will ensure minorities receive a fair share. Ensuring means that you have to bring in policies, legislation, etc., etc. And fair share, how do you calculate fair share? Through a census, viewers. And that means an X-ray. And it's not a caste census, it's a socio-economic census. That means your Mangal Sutra, boss, is...
Rahul, you're not being right.
Rahul is on.
This is not right.
No, but I ask you.
This is not right.
Is a Mangal Sutra not an asset?
Hello.
Is it an asset, yes or no?
It's a caste survey. What is it got to do with religion?
No. A socio-economic survey. No. There are two words there. There is a caste survey and a socio-economic survey. Two very different things.
A caste survey determines the socio-economic status.
No. Sir, please, go back to... Look. Sanjay Jhaji, please open the manifesto yourself. I'll guide you to it. Equity clause, chapter 1. Please open it and then you read it, and it is written.
I have read it twice.
1 second, sir. There is even an abbreviation mentioned there.
What is wrong?
No. So because it is not supposed to be read together, there are two different things. Now you might disagree with it. We leave that to the public. Yes, Sanju Verma, respond to Mr. Sanjay Jha.
You know, Rahul, now I don't want to be heckled. This pathological liar, this suspended variety.
No, but don't make it personal. Don't make it personal. Don't make it personal.
May I?
He hasn't called you any name, so why are you getting into it? You give your points.
I haven't called her an
please.
May I please?
Whether he is suspended or not, whether he is... Yeah, let's get back. Let's not do this, please. Then you get a rebuttal. Then there's a complaint that you are not allowed to speak. I don't have endless time for all this. So Sanju Verma, let's get to the points, please.
Rahul,
please,
1 minute. Sanjay Jha, please. Yes.
Rahul, I don't want to sound offensive. You've given me a sanctimonious lecture. Sanju Verma, let's not make this personal. Did you stop Sanjay Jha even once when he calls the sitting Prime Minister of India a pathological liar?
Madam, that is your job. That is your job. That is your job. Please respond.
So let me do my job. Don't teach me my job.
But
let me do my job.
1 second.
Don't teach me my job.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You do your job as an anchor. Let
Go
me
ahead,
do my
ma'am.
job as the national spokesperson.
You have enough time.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Rahul. Yes.
Go ahead.
I will not be stopped from doing my job.
Please.
I will not have someone sit and abuse the Prime Minister and you expect the BJP to keep quiet. No, that's not going to happen. Now let me make some hard facts on your program which actually eulogizes hard facts. Look at the entire history of the Congress party. In the first 67 years of post-independent India, the first 67 years may say 54 saal, 54 years, it was the Congress party which ruled, Rahul. 1953, Nehru nationalized Air India. 1956, Nehru nationalized LIC, Life Insurance Corporation of India. Then look at the ignominy and the irony of things. 1969, Nehru's daughter Indira Gandhi nationalizes all public sector banks. 1972, Indira Gandhi nationalizes Coal India Limited. 1973, Indira Gandhi nationalizes GIC, General Insurance Corporation of India. Why I'm telling you all this, I will just come to that in a bit. In 1986, Nehru's grandson and Indira Gandhi's son Rajiv Gandhi sets up MTNL, and then they treat MTNL as their private fiefdom, and it starts bleeding to the point that today it has to be merged with BSNL for its very survival. Once upon a time, MTNL was supposed to be the behemoth that would revolutionize Indian telecom industry. And then after Pandit Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi's widow Sonia Gandhi, who ran a kitchen cabinet, though Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister right from 2004 to 2014, we had 10 of the biggest NPAs in India. I have the data right here. Bhushan Steel, Lanco Infra, SR Steel, SR Shipping, Bhushan Power, Alok Industries, Antec Auto, Monet Ispat, Electro Steel, ERA Infra, Jyoti Infra, JP Infra, ABG Shipyard. The list is endless. And they bled the economy by giving zombie loans to these companies which were declared NPAs long before the public realized that these companies have gone bankrupt. That is Nehru's Mahalanobis model. That is the socialist model of Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi's kitchen cabinet, which eventually led to India becoming an economy which found itself under the fragile five as per the IMF. I'm so happy, Rahul. I was an associate director at JP Morgan. I worked with the biggest and the best, right from HDFC Securities to Phillip Capital. I was not some lowly clerk. I've held leadership positions, and today Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan says Narendra Modi has done an unbelievable job in terms of resurrecting the Indian economy. You had a similar sentiment being voiced by Ray Dalio of Bridgewaters, the biggest hedge fund in the world. You had Larry Fink of BlackRock, the founder of BlackRock, which manages assets which are 25% of the US economy actually. He says Narendra Modi has done a phenomenal job in restructuring the Indian economy. And then David Solomon of Goldman Sachs comes in and says Narendra Modi has done what ideally would have taken another prime minister 20 or 30 years in terms of bringing India into the top league of tables when it comes to economic hegemony. Now I will tell you, why is it that, Sam Pitroda is wrong when he talks about inheritance tax. I'm not worried about whether it is, applicable in 10 US states or 20 US states or 50 US states, or the fact that the average inheritance tax, in Wisconsin could be 20%, but in Hawaii and Alaska could be 50%. That's not the point. Look at the tone, look at the tenor. I always say the devil is in the detail. He says it's a very interesting law. When if you have $100 million and you suddenly die, your children and your grandchildren, they get to keep 45% of it, basically $45 million. And the balance $55 million goes to the public, and the state grabs this. The state grabs 55% of the $100 million you've left and redistributes it. And what does Jairam Ramesh say? Jairam Ramesh, basically, in a classic hua to hua, says, oh, this is Sam Pitroda's personal comment. The Congress party has nothing to do with it. Just like after Sheila Dikshit's son Sandeep Dikshit called Bipin Rawat the ex-CDS of India, Sadak Ka Gunda. I remember Rahul Gandhi, Manish Tiwari, an entire cabal saying, Sandeep Dikshit ne Bipin Rawat ko Sadak Ka Gunda bola, but that is his personal comment. If the Congress comes back to power, we are going back to the days of 1953 under Nehru, when even Myanmar, erstwhile Burma, had a better GDP growth than India. India was at 1.6%. Myanmar was at 3.4%.
Okay, Dr. Ranganathan, how are we recycling an idea that the Congress itself rejected and called a bad idea? Then Finance Minister VP Singh called it, quote unquote, a bad idea. He said it wrecked our economy. They got rid of it in 85. And this gentleman, Mr. Petroda, who's the mentor, proclaimed mentor of the Congress party, says it's a great idea. Let's talk about it. What am I supposed to come away thinking?
Good evening, Rahul. Look, Rehan must be telling Priyanka Vadra, मम्मी कोई मामा को समझाओ, पहले वेल्थ रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूशन से पापा को सड़क पे लाएंगे और अब रामू काका के कहने पर इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स से मुझे Rahul, just when you think nothing could be more destructive than communism, the Congress proves you wrong. The Nigerian widow who wants to give away her recently discovered inheritance is more trustworthy than Rahul Gandhi. A great Orwellian tidal wave is coming our way, Rahul, if you are not careful. It carries with it wokeism and victimhood and the rest of the socialist deadwood. But this is not our greatest worry. What will drown us is not these post-modernist claptrap. No. Our greatest worry, Rahul, comes from the other two entities this tidal wave is carrying. Negation of the scientific axioms through Marxist thinking and celebration of the murder of private enterprise. It is the tolerance of these two that will plunge us into an abyss. Let me explain. Rahul, there is but one foreign destructive ideology, FDI, that has wrecked every land it has reached the shores of, and that is communism. And all these Congress stock exchanges and dynasty brokers are gaining from this FDI. This anti-science cult that has resulted in the murder of 100 million is the antithesis of Darwinism, in that it abjures competition and empathy. It attracts hateful, incompetent failures in life. It cushions their guilt of destroying things they are incapable of ever building. One must understand the thin lines that divide communism, anarchy and revolution are there for a purpose. Hopscotch. These hammerheads have perfected the art of jumping from one square to another. Communism today, anarchism tomorrow, revolution forever. A leftist, that's why, can never be your true friend, because he's deeply embarrassed about eulogizing mass murderers and following a junked ideology. It's a heady mix of inferiority and persecution complex that soon turns into anxiety when the ideas of the cult are rejected by all intelligent people. His only refuge then is amongst people of his own tribe. It's a religion. You keep convincing each other you are correct. What inevitably follows is authoritarianism, thought control, state control, and then total control. Let us look at the Congress revolutionary plans very briefly. Wealth redistribution and inheritance tax. Straight out of the pocket diaries of Mao and Pol Pot. Number one, common sense tells you that beyond the wealth that is anyway redistributed through income and corporate taxes, any further redistribution amounts to the Marxist idea of looting these who generate wealth. Or as Marx famously said, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. But who decides what is ability and what is need? Altruism must always be a fraction of truism. Congress raised corporate tax to 45% in 1991. Modi reduced it to 22%. Why? Because common sense tells you that zealous redistribution of wealth reduces wealth, and total redistribution of wealth reduces wealth totally, because it removes the incentive from people who generate wealth to generate wealth, because it makes a segment of population, the recipients, uncompetitive and unproductive. Two, inheritance tax beyond tackling inheritance accrued through slavery and social Darwinism is draconian. Every generation, Rahul, strives to generate wealth for its progeny. For the state to take half of it is cruel. One saves in the hope that it will alleviate suffering for the next generation. One saves for one's own children, not for the children of Nehru, so they may carry out their crackpot commie idea just 10 seconds. There is no cure for Congress. It can only be defeated through herd immunity.
Well, let me tell you, viewers, that all Indian families, at great cost, parents specifically, grandparents, at great cost to themselves, they'd rather sacrifice the quality of their lives, but save enough so that their children and grandchildren can have better lives. Now, Tehseen Poonawalla, I'm only going to ask you a simple question. Forget Sam Pitroda, forget everything. It's a straightforward question.
Right.
Since he is talking about a great idea, and since he is such an influence on the Congress party, where is the firewall that says that tomorrow that idea may not once again be bred, incubated and implemented? Right? So I want to ask you, in the light of that, will Mangal Sutras and holding of religious institutions be part of a wealth survey? It's a very simple question. Can you answer this? Because that's what the Prime Minister has been answering. Sanjay Jha ji has not answered that. He's made counter charges against the Prime Minister, called him all sorts of things. But I'm not getting that clear answer. Neither is Rahul ji, neither is Jairam ji. No one is telling us.
But I hope in the fairness of debate, there will be equal distribution of time, so I won't be interrupted. In the fairness of debate.
Yes.
So let's begin with what you said, and then I'll come to what Sanjay said. And I back Sanjay on what he said. So please hear me out. Number one, read my lips. The Prime Minister has bordered on hate speech and fear-mongering. And that is terrible, because he's a great leader of the greatest country in the world. He didn't need to do this. When we talk about Mangal Sutras, the only Mangal Sutras that are pawned off with loan sharks are the poor, who got poorer in his tenure, while his rich capitalist friends have got rich. And I'm a capitalist. I am for capitalism. The only Mangal Sutras that were lost was when GST was taken on oxygen during COVID. Those Mangal Sutras were lost. So the Prime Minister has no right to talk about Mangal Sutras. Mangal Sutras that are lost have been lost during this government where poor have got poorer. But let me come to the larger point that I want to make. That was a political point because yours is a political answer. Nowhere does the Congress manifesto speak about Mangal Sutras, redistribution of gold, etc. But we come to what Rahul Gandhi said, subsequently what Sam Petroda said. So let me back what Sanjay Jha said, and I want your viewers to hear this. Rahul, tell me if this is correct or wrong. Anand is very erudite. I was analyzing why that condition of hospitals and healthcare doesn't exist in our country. And one of the reasons I found was that those societies have very large inheritance taxes. Since we don't have that inheritance tax in India, our charities are not in those terms of endowments, said veteran BJP leader and then current finance minister Shri Arun Jaitley ji. This is after Rajiv Gandhi moved. Now, it was an idea Arun Jaitley put up, and you are comparing it to Sam Petroda. Now, read Sanjay and my lips. Sam Petroda is an outsider. Yes, he is an idea, but that idea is not going to be implemented. The Congress has said that. So what did Rahul Gandhi say? Because that's a very legitimate question you've raised, and I'll end it here. Rahul Gandhi's speech, and I'm quoting from Times of India, and he ends with, he talks about a caste survey, like done in Bihar, which realizes several Pandit families are actually worse off than Dalit and Muslims, several Brahmin families, and therefore he talks about redistribution of government resources and government jobs to hit the poorest. He's very clear of the word opportunities and government jobs. How does that become taking somebody's Mangal Sutra and giving it to Ghuspaitias?
Can I ask you a question?
Very quick. In India, yes, ask the Prime Minister to step down.
Sanju Verma,
ask him to step down after 10 years of Ghuspaitias.
Don't get, calm down. I just want to ask you. 1 second, Sanjay Jhaji, 1 second, please.
And let me come in to add.
1 second, no, I'm just countering. If you don't mind, can I have a counter question with Mr. Poonawala? Yes, I might not have time. We have to also move in to an economic. 1 second, to a more economical debate on whether inheritance tax works or not. So I'm really looking forward to that. One second. Counter question, please, to Mr. Poonawala, and then Sanju Verma, and you can have your say. Just 30 seconds, please. I want to ask you, sir. Why is Sam Petroda called the mentor of the Congress party?
Not the Congress party, of Rahul.
No.
Rahul?
Today, 1 second. Kya matlab? Jairam Ramesh came out and said he's our mentor.
My mentor.
Was he not somebody that influenced Rajiv Gandhi to begin, as they say, the computer age? Yes or no?
He did.
Yes. So, viewers,
Sam Petroda is not some retired. You can't ask a question or not. Then you got to give me a fair answer. Let me give you a fair answer, and then let's
Is he or is he not a mentor?
Of course. So 1 second. Come on, yeah, Sanju. Don't be this way. Don't be so personal. So my mentor. 1 second.
Is he a mentor? Yes or no?
Of course. Come on, yeah. You're not allowing me to answer. You're not being fair. Be fair to me. Be equitable to Sanjay. My mentor in college. My mentor in college told me only stick to doing business. Don't do political analysis. I didn't listen to my mentor. Mentor में एक चीज बोल सकता है.
One gentleman.
हर चीज थोड़ी mentor की सुननी पड़ती है.
He's not some retired fogey sitting in America. First of all, he's talking about inheritance tax. He should come to India. Tell us what his inheritance is. He's sitting there. He's not going to have any losses.
Why didn't you ask Arun Jaitley these questions?
His kids are not going to lose out in any which way. 1 second. Has the BJP brought in inheritance tax?
Has the Congress brought it in?
Yes, sir. You did.
No.
You did.
The Congress moved it.
And then your incumbent finance minister pushed for it anyhow.
Pushed for it. Arun Jaitley also pushed for it. He was the incumbent finance minister.
He wasn't at that time. Yes. 1 minute. Respond. Sanju Verma, respond.
Yes. Rahul, Tehseen said our Prime Minister is a great leader of the greatest country in the world, and then he added some disclaimers, Modi engaged in hate speech, etc.
I am here to
let her respond. She never interrupted. No, that's not fair. That's not fair. Please keep quiet. No, please. You can't interrupt people and then don't expect them to get irritable. Now, please. Yes, go ahead.
Rahul, do you remember just barely a few days back when we were celebrating Ram Navami? Mamata Banerjee said, oh, these Hindus, this is their danga karne ka din. Let them do sloganeering. Let them do danga bazi. These kafirs
DMK also said things. DMK also said things. DMK abused Hindus.
Let me finish. Yes, Rahul, let me finish. So Mamata Banerjee said Ram Navami is the day of doing danga bazi. Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Vadra, these so-called beacons of secularism, इनके मुंह में फेविकॉल लग गया था. Udayanithi Stalin compared Sanatan Dharma to dengue, malaria, rabies. इनके मुंह में फेविकॉल लग गया. But Narendra Modi simply showcases the mirror to the Congress party and quotes what Manmohan Singh had said on the 9th of December 2006, and the entire cabal says, oh, Modi is a pathological liar. I will just end by saying 2 lines, Rahul, please. This is an article which I wrote for CNN News 18, just bear with me, where I say, in matters of style, swim with the current, in matters of principle, stand like a rock, said Thomas Jefferson. And indeed, the biggest plus point of Narendra Modi is that Modinomics is not xenophobic. It marries the best of both. Good governance, transparency, probity with structural reforms.
Yes, I will allow you.
Incremental.
Okay.
Without believing in incrementalism.
Let's not, viewers, lose sight of the fact that we have had rhetorical answers. Sanjay Jha, I'm only asking you this question. And I'm going to ask the same question that I asked Mr. Poonawalla. And right after that, Doctor, 30 seconds each to each one of you. Sanjay Jha, will Mangal Sutras and holding of religious institutions be counted as part of a wealth survey? Yes or no?
The answer is no, and I hope the Prime Minister gets disqualified by the Election Commission.
No, that's not an answer. I'm not asking about the... One minute, don't talk over each other.
So the answer is no. And at a quick point...
No, how is it no? 1 second. When you talk about institutions... When, 1 minute, please. Sanju Verma, please.
Can you give me my 30 seconds?
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead. Science. Anand Ranganathan, you never said anything about Patanjali, its cure for COVID that the central and the state government endorsed. कुछ बोले नहीं यार.
ये आपके ऊपर लगान लगा दिया इन्होंने. चलिए एक मिनट रुक जाइए. वो उनको पीछे क्यों पड़ गए? डॉक्टर.
How come you never said anything
about
Dr.
Ranganathan, very quickly. I find it strange that every time I ask the most piercing question here, which is how is it that a institutional survey, financial and institutional survey, will discount the counting of physical assets? People say no, it won't. Dr. Ranganathan, does this make sense to you?
Patanjali pe bhi jawab de dena.
You know, I don't know what is.
Okay, doctor, please. I need to move on. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sanjay, just because you are beaten black and blue by Sanju doesn't mean you come after me. It will be much worse.
No. You talked of anti-science.
Okay, gentlemen, please.
Walk the talk.
Please, I beg you. Yes, doctor, quick, make your point. Okay, I have other guests. I'm going to cut you off. I have other guests. They're getting impatient. I need to go to them. So please, 30 seconds. Please, 30 seconds. Come on. Dr. Ranganathan, 30 seconds, low feeders. Please. Yeah.
Tell me, where were you practicing investment banking?
Yes, 30 seconds. Okay, I'm moving on. Let's move on. This is not the way. 1 second. Dr. Ranganathan, very quickly make your point. Very quickly, 30 seconds. Please.
Yes, 30 seconds. Number one, you were absolutely right. If the wealth of every Indian is to be surveyed, and if that wealth is in the form of little bit of gold or Mangal Sutra, then of course, that would get onto the paper. Why wouldn't it? Logic tells that it would.
Why wouldn't it? I need to move on, viewers, because